This is the Ford Everest Sport. You may think that it's a regular Everest with a few blacked out accents, but it's a bit more than that. Is it worth your money? Let's find out. When the Everest Sport was first announced, I thought it was going to be an Everest Trend or titanium with blacked out trims, so I wasn't too excited about it. But apparently, the changes are more than skin deep. By that, I mean, even if you remove the blacked out accents, it has its own spec sheet that's different from the Trend and the titanium. While the Trend still uses Ford's older 2.2 diesel engine, the Sport uses Ford's newer 2-liter turbocharged engine and 10-speed transmission. So the Sport is more like a titanium 4x2 with a couple of missing features. Exterior. It is becoming quite common for manufacturers to release models with blacked out accents. So it seems like there's a demand for it. Like the FX4 and the XLS Sport, the Everest Sport also gets the full blacked out treatment. All the chrome trims have been painted in gloss black. The badging on the sides, the rear garnish, the silver accents on the bumpers have also been blacked out. It gets the same black grille as the Ranger FX4, and then the word Everest is written in big bold letters on the hood. Of course, the letters are also black. And surprisingly, the headlights also get the blacked out treatment. The Sport gets the same 20-inch wheels as the titanium variants, but the wheels on the Sport are, you guessed it, also painted in gloss black. The blacked out accents and the wheels give the Everest Sport a meaner and more rugged look. Unlike other vehicles though with visual upgrades like the Navara and Warrior, the Everest Sport gets its own spec sheet. It has more features than the base model Trend, and it has a couple of missing features compared to the titanium 4x2. Anyway, let's check out the interior. Okay, so this is the interior of the Ford Everest Sport. It looks very similar to the interior of the titanium. Instead of a silver trim, you got this gloss black trim over here, which is actually kind of bluish. Then you have blue stitching all over the car. The dashboard is leather covered, like on the titanium. You also get a leather wrapped steering wheel, which is very nicely padded. It feels quite substantial, and the leather looks nice. It doesn't look like vinyl like on most other SUVs. The driver's seat is power adjustable. It has 8-way power adjustment. Over here are your controls for the headlamps. The Ford Everest Sport has automatic headlamps, and it also has automatic wipers. This is plastic, this is leather, and everything down here is plastic. You have dual zone climate control, and you also still get this 8-inch screen. You have Apple CarPlay, you have Android Auto, and you also got a reverse camera with active guidelines. Over here you have 2 cup holders, one USB port, another USB port over here, and one 12-volt outlet. The seats are leather covered, and you have Sport badging over here. It also has blue stitching. You have a very nicely padded center armrest. Underneath you have plenty of storage. So you don't get the panoramic sunroof of the titanium 4x4.
But curiously, you have this hump over here where the sunroof should be. So space is pretty good. I have about this much headroom. I'm guessing that's about 3 to 3.5 inches. I am 5'8". The speedometer is analog, and you have 2 digital screens flanking the speedometer. So here at the second row seat, I have plenty of space. I have pretty decent legroom. Headroom is a bit compromised because of this hump over here, but it's not so bad. I have about, I'm guessing that's 3 inches of headroom. The air vents are on the roof. You have 2 here for the second row passengers, and you have another 2 for the third row. The air controls are down here. You can control the fan speed, but there are no temperature controls. You have one 12-volt outlet over here. There is a center armrest. With 2 cup holders. The quality of leather seems to be a bit nicer than what you'd find on the Fortuner. It feels thicker, and there's a bit more texture to it.
Like all variants of the Everest Sport also has a power tailgate. Now, unlike the Everest Titanium 4x2, the third row seats are not power folding. With the third row seats up, you have 450 liters of space, and with the third row seats down, you have 1050. Like on other mid-size SUVs in this segment, the third row seats are for smaller adults and children. If you're 5'8" or taller, you'll probably fit, but your head will brush against the roof. For a mid-range PPV, the Everest Sport is pretty well equipped. It has dual-zone climate control, it has an 8-inch screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it has a 10-speaker system. It has a power-adjustable driver's seat, automatic headlamps, automatic wipers. All variants of the Everest now get a power tailgate and active noise cancellation as standard. The Everest Sport is powered by a 2-liter single-turbo engine. It's not the same as the 2-liter bi-turbo that powers the 4x4 Titanium and the Ford Ranger Raptor, but it's the same engine that powers the Titanium 4x2. If you're coming from other PPVs like the Fortuner and the Terra, the thing that you'll probably notice first when driving any variant of the Everest is the steering. It is the lightest in its class. It's a lot lighter than the steering of the Terra. But once you get to highway speeds, the steering gets stiffer. The Everest Sport also gets the Titanium's active noise cancellation technology, which actively cancels out noise coming from outside. So it is pretty quiet inside the cabin, at least for a diesel. In terms of suspension, it is not as soft as the Terra, but definitely not as stiff as the Fortuner. It is somewhere in between. In terms of acceleration, it is not as fast as the bi-turbo, but compared to its peers, it's not lagging far behind. The Sport doesn't get the Titanium's blind spot warning with cross-traffic alert, but it gets cruise control, it gets front and rear parking sensors, and a reverse camera with active guidelines. The Everest Sport's pricing is right smack in the middle of the Trend and the Titanium 4x2. It is 130,000 pesos cheaper than the Titanium and about 130,000 pesos more expensive than the Trend. The differences between the Trend and the Sport are quite significant in terms of mechanicals. Like I said before, the Trend still uses the older 2.2 engine coupled to a 6-speed, while the Sport uses Ford's newer 2-liter single-turbo engine coupled to a 10-speed. The advantage of the 2.0 is that it is newer, it's more efficient, and it's more powerful. The 2.2 though has been around for a while now, so it is battle tested. I had one on my Ranger XLT, and it was quite reliable. In terms of features, if you go for the Sport instead of the Trend, you get a push to start button, you get a power adjustable driver's seat, and you get bigger 20-inch wheels. In terms of mechanicals, the Ford Everest Sport and the Titanium 4x2 are exactly the same, but you get a few more features on the Titanium 4x2. You get a rear AC power outlet, you get power folding third row seats, navigation, and blind spot warning with cross traffic alert. I think the visual upgrades of the Sport though give it a slight edge over the Titanium, so I'm not sure if the extra features are worth the price difference. Overall, the Ford Everest Sport is a welcome addition to the Everest lineup. To those who find the Titanium variants to be too expensive, but want something a bit more upscale and a bit more stylish than the base model, the Ford Everest Sport should be a pretty attractive option.